Inspector Caitlin Lau, video log. Clan Kelly and Albion are teamed up on some deal. I don't have all the details, but it looks to be human trafficking. The European Processing Center is the Albion angle. Since the bombings, they can grab anyone off the street. Call them illegal immigrants, potential DedSec insurgents, whatever. Though we know who the real danger is. So, Clan Kelly gets hold of these people, these immigrants, deportees, victims, really, and they're taking them somewhere. But where and why? It all comes back to the boss lady herself. I knew she was into something, but she wriggled off the hook. There's only one way I can do this. 24/7 surveillance on Mary Kelly. If I'm caught, well, this will be my last entry, but I have to see what she's hiding.
Hey everyone, welcome to Darkcast Interviews. I'm your host, Jonathan Miley. DCI is normally a long-form interview podcast where we talk to game creators about who they are and then work behind the scenes, as well as, obviously, their recent or upcoming video games. Recently, I had another chance to sit down and play a couple of hours of Ubisoft's upcoming open-world hacking game, Watch Dogs Legion, and in this episode, I got to chat once again with Sean Crooks about development on the game. You can find more information about the game, including our previous coverage as well as our most recent hands-on preview, in the show notes for this episode on darkstation.com. There you can also find the original Darkcast as well as other video game reviews, previews, and features. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at darkstation_com, find us on Facebook, check us out on YouTube, and email us at podcast@darkstation.com. As always, thank you so much for listening. Now on with the show. Welcome back to the Darkcast. I'm Jonathan Miley. Joining me for this episode is Sean Crooks. Sean, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting about Watch Dogs Legion. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and it's a pleasure.
Fantastic. I'm glad to have you back. We actually spoke a couple of months ago when we did the last Watch Dogs preview event, so it's good to hear from you again. How have the last couple of months been?
It's shipping. It's always a fun time. So it's a good opportunity to catch those last bugs, put the last bit of polish on the game, making sure we're, paying, close attention to all the details and getting them all right, ready for launch. So it's it's an exciting time when you feel everything kind of wrapping up and coming together in its final form. It's pretty cool.
Sure, fantastic. I've always heard from. I've heard from a lot of developers that, there's the first 90% of development, and then the last 10% is the second 90% of development. How true is that with kind of polishing everything up and getting the game ready for people to play?
It's very true. Your approach changes quite a lot, and it's the same with development across the whole spectrum. You have different versions of yourself and your problems depending on what phase of development you're in: pre-production, production, shipping. So you just switch your focus to different kinds of problems, and but it's lots of micro details, right? That's the last stretch. It's lots of technical and creative and specific micro details that you just want to get right, both for technical reasons and for quality reasons before you ship. So it's that kind of mindset.
Yeah. Now, for anybody that might not have listened to our last conversation, can you just give me a quick rundown of what you do on the game and kind of your previous experience with Ubisoft as well?
Sure. So my name is Sean Crooks. I'm lead producer at Ubisoft Toronto on Watch Dogs Legion. Previously, I was associate producer on Watch Dogs 2, and I'm probably approaching over 10 years at Ubisoft through various studios. I worked on Driver San Francisco in the UK, etc. And I've been heading this project for quite a while now. So that's pretty much my history. And obviously, right now, I'm just super happy to talk about Watch Dogs Legion, and I'm very focused on getting the best game, making it the best game it can be and getting it out there for everyone to play. We're pretty excited.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you. Now, obviously, this past year has been very different from the 9 years before that, with just 2020 being what it is. How have things been during the pandemic? Some of the, I don't know, the challenges, some of the potential benefits maybe from a bunch of people working from home. How's it been?
One thing as game developers, you learn quite quickly as an early skill is just to adapt. Things change a lot. Technology propels forward. Next gen hardware, like the Series X and the PS5 come out, and you have to adjust. And obviously, all these changes and adaptations that you have to make throughout the course of development. The last year it's just been another phase of that. Having teams work from home. Having Ubisoft in general being a global corporation, we're working with a lot of different studios at any one time anyway. So the ability to connect and develop remotely, it's something we've had to do as part of our skill set in development for a very long time anyway. So it's just adapting those to make them more at the core in your own team and modifying your processes. Some stuff is more difficult, but some stuff actually worked out actually better. There's some stuff that we did, such as some of the ways we conduct our reviews now and the way they're recorded and it's et cetera, that actually ended up being a lot more efficient than we had done in the past. So we're even seeing upsides to it. So it's a learning experience. It's an adaptation experience. Luckily, Ubisoft is a culture that works with many other studios, already had a setup and a way to succeed in that respect. So it's been challenging, obviously, but it's also been positive in many ways. So
that's good to hear. Now you mentioned the new Xbox and the new PlayStation coming out. You guys have talked about in the past that there's going to be like ray tracing on the next gen consoles, but now that we've gotten some more information, we finally have prices and release dates and all that kind of stuff. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of what that next gen experience is going to be like for Watch Dogs Legion?
Sure. So, one of the immediate things that we love as developers is the faster loading times. So both platforms have accelerated loading times with their new hard drives and SSDs, and that creates a great visual improvement both on the speed in which the game loads, but also things in the frame look better. They don't pop in as much. They just look a lot cleaner and load way in advance and super rapidly. So that makes in general the overall experience more engaging and you can get immersed in it. And then also, like I said, the ray tracing you mentioned, we partnered up with Microsoft and we have beautiful ray tracing technology on the Series X, and we've implemented a similar tech on PlayStation as well. The PlayStation has the new adaptive triggers. We've been working on those to try and integrate those for PlayStation platforms. So we've been working heavily with first parties, looking at all of the bells and whistles that they've managed to squeeze into the next gen consoles, and we're adopting as many of them as we can. But we're very excited and we're very proud of the next gen versions that we're producing. So can't wait for fans to get their hands on it. Awesome.
You mentioned the adaptive triggers. Any use of the PS5's 3D audio? I don't remember what it's called, but it sounded really cool when Mark Cerny was talking about it several months ago.
Sure. Actually, so both platforms in some way support, and I think you're referring to 3D spatial audio.
Sure.
So yeah, actually, yes, we're actually supporting 3D spatial audio on both platforms.
Okay.
And it sounds very cool. It makes you really aware of your surroundings. You can hear bad guys coming from behind, or hear in the distance a drone approaching you from a particular angle, so you're ready to go. It actually sounds very good and very immersive.
Fantastic. So I guess one of the neat things with the new Xbox is that they've got all this backwards compatibility and all that kind of stuff. So if you get Legion for an Xbox One, then you can play that same copy upgraded and all that kind of stuff for the Series X. Is that the same case for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5?
Yes, the technicalities of how each of the first parties are managing that is slightly different, but okay. Yes, you can get a free upgrade. And the cool thing that we're doing as well is we're supporting same generation cross progression. So if you buy the Series X version and upgrade, the Xbox One X version and upgrade to the Series X, we can transfer all of your saves so you don't lose any progression as well, which is super cool. So that one really makes it worthwhile buying now if you're excited, and easy to transfer later.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. So I know that there are a ton of different characters that you can recruit, potentially everybody in the city, not all at once, obviously. But how about abilities? We've seen some character-specific abilities with calling down drones and you know, just all the various stuff, you know, spy gadgets and things like that. But the abilities that I guess you kind of gain across characters, I don't think have been talked too much about. Can you talk a little bit about some of those, like the ability to cloak down enemies and stuff like that? And is that shared across all of your recruits and all that kind of stuff?
Cool. So yeah, that was actually a big change we made after last year's E3 when we had archetypes, which now isn't the case anymore. Now we kind of migrated all of that stuff into some kind of tech tree. So basically, you have like hacking, weapons, etc., that are available for unlocks in the tech tree. And in the world, you can collect tech points that you can spend in that tech tree to unlock what we call gadgets. And each of your characters have a gadget slot that they can equip. So the cool thing is now you're not kind of locked into anything on the gadget side. You can literally, just before you hop into a combat zone, you can quickly switch out a gadget through a menu and then go in with cloak, or you can go in with a spider bot that can cloak, or a spider bot that can turn into a turret. We have missile drones that can, rain explosives down from the sky, or, so you can literally decide, do you want to go in stealthy? Do you want to go in guns blazing? Do you want to go in hacking? And then you can pretty much equip out that part of your character to support you in the gameplay you want to do. So I think that's something we're really proud of with the Players Anyone breakthrough. It's the fact that you can have characters on your team with different abilities that create and change the gameplay. And then you have some degree of customization on that too with the gadgets that you can also bring into your missions with you.
Gotcha. Okay. The Division 2 features a one-to-one recreation of both Washington, D.C. and Lower Manhattan. How did you guys go about recreating London for Legion, and is it one-to-one? If it's not, how did you guys go about deciding which aspects of the city to include and which ones to leave out?
So London's a very vibrant and dense city, and it's extremely huge. And we wanted to capture all the essence of London, but obviously at a map that size, if we'd have gone for one, we would have had to leave a lot of the more interesting parts of London out. So we decided to, work on a reduced size. And then what we did is we looked at what are the key elements, like from architecture to cultural spots to major landmarks, etc. And then we try and as much as possible to keep as much of the flavor and essence of a particular borough and district, whilst removing a couple of the side streets here and there to try and make sure we can fit it in the size of the world that we have. And for sure, our London is one of the most densest gaming environments I think we've ever built at Ubisoft. It's a similar size to Watch Dogs 2, but in terms of gameplay density, there is a lot of buildings. There's not many open parks. It's just a pure urban, dense playground, which is pretty cool and provides a lot of fun challenges for the player.
Very cool, very cool. Now, Aiden Pierce is back, and he has a beard, which is fantastic. What I really want to know is if we're going to have any other returning characters. Specifically, are Marcus and Raymond Kinney going to be back? And does Marcus have a beard too?
So we're very excited to bring Aiden Pierce back, and I think you can tell by his looks he's been through a rough time. So I'm excited to be able to tell that story about why Aiden is there and how come he's hanging around London. And then obviously with the feature as Players Anyone, we're working on a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to communicate on that later.
Keeping cards close to your chest. I understand. Legion is releasing on a whole bunch of Xboxes, from Xbox One S to Xbox One X to Xbox Series S and finally Xbox Series X. Were there any particular challenges when developing the game for 4 different console specs that are technically the same platform?
So the cool thing that the next generation, or this current generation even did is, we started to have lots of intermediate Xboxes and PlayStations, like the PlayStation Pro and the Xbox One X. And also, in a lot of the technology we use on PC allows us to dynamically scale a lot of stuff, so depending on PC specs. So combining that PC technology and applying it to consoles is something we started to do heavily for the first time this generation. So now we're starting to add additional, more powerful consoles on the market in next gen. We can leverage a lot of the work done with our PC builds, and also the way we migrate between Xbox Original and Xbox One X, for example, and use that on next gens to push that technology and the graphic quality and what we can get out of any system even further. So the good news is the current generation really allowed us to prepare for this, and then the next generation allowed us to really take advantage of the tools and the processes that we built to do that.
So everything's just a computer now. Got it. All right. Now, I know at the start of the game, everybody plays as Dalton. You go on a super secret mission as an MI6 agent, and it's really cool. That was in the previous preview of the game. But after that, who do you play as? Is everybody randomized? Is everybody start with the same character? Like, how does the game pick up from after the prologue?
So after Sabine escapes the bombing of London and the attack by Albion, her job is to reboot DedSec. So what she does is she reaches out with Bagley to try and find some people who might be viable recruits, and that's when the players kind of presented with a selection of a bunch of people that are generated randomly inside of their game. So everyone's initial starting group is generated specifically different. And you can choose, which ability you like, which character you like, what bio you like as your starting character. And then once you're in the world as that character, you then begin recruiting DedSec through characters that you find in the world as you play.
Fantastic. Now, let's talk about the soundtrack for the game. Personally, I was not a huge fan of the Watch Dogs 1 playlist. I actually left it off most of the time. But I'm a huge fan of the Watch Dogs 2 soundtrack. But I haven't really gotten to hear anything from Legion because we've had it off so that videos don't get taken down for copyright on YouTube. So can you tell me a little bit about the soundtrack and the playlists that will be featured in Watch Dogs Legion?
Yeah, so actually one thing we did heavily is be inspired by a lot of popular UK artists, as well as something a little bit more underground in the UK as well. Obviously, you've seen our partnership with Stormzy, who appears in the game as on a particular particular mission. He's also featured in our radio station, and we love working with him. He really embodies a lot of the concepts and ideas in the game. We think we have a kind of a culture that's well aligned with the messages he gives out. Also, and I'll be very specific, I have one of my favorites. I'm a huge soccer fan. So for the English soccer fans out there, we have a classic English tune from Three Lions song, which is an awesome British reference that I love. So there's lots of little gems in there, as well as the cultural references as well. So it's I think it's a nice sounding board of British culture, popular music, plus also some specific things that are very strong UK cultural references.
Can you recruit and play as Stormzy?
No, you can't recruit and play as Stormzy, but he is a particular mission giver that you have to work with. But you can see his awesome music video. And yeah.
Fantastic. And then finally, just when and where can people get their hands on Watch Dogs Legion?
So Watch Dogs Legion is out on current gen platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC and Stadia on October 29th, and then at the launch of the next gen consoles.
Fantastic. Well, Sean, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me about Watch Dogs Legion, and best of luck as you guys finish up development and get the game out in people's hands. I know you're super excited about that. And, stay safe out there, and have a good one.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure chatting to you. Take care.
Yourself after everything I've done for you.
You made me a slave. All of us. Please, let me go. Take this thing out.
Back to your old life. Back to nothing. Back to you 2.5 screaming blighters in your dead-end job and sucking off the dole. You don't want that, love. This microchip is scary, I know, but I got to keep tracks on my merchandise, don't I? And this kitchen knife, that won't do it, love. Cutting yourself affects my bottom line.
I can't live like this anymore.
No. You're all right there. It's all right, sweetheart, because I have another use for you. Ooh, paying attention, are we? Good. Be sure and spread the word.